My wife staged a divorce ceremony to humiliate me. Stop pretending. I want a divorce. My quiet revenge exposed cheating and took back my life. I never thought I would be the kind of man who ended up standing in his own living room being told to sit down and stop performing by the woman who once swore she loved me. But life has this strange way of pushing you towards scenes you never imagined yourself living through. My name is Eric, and if you're reading this because you're deep diving into someone else's chaos to forget your own, well, buckle up, because mine started on a Thursday night when my wife, Lauren, decided to host what she later referred to as a divorce ceremony. And yes, she said those words out loud like it was some sort of spiritual cleansing ritual. She invited her parents, her sister, her two closest friends, and they all sat around my living room like they were about to stage some terrible intervention for a crime I didn't know I committed. I had just come home from work, still wearing my badge and tie, tired as hell, thinking we were going to have dinner and maybe argue again about something minor, the way we've been doing for months. But instead, I walked into a scene that felt like the opening of a reality show where the spouse gets ambushed by producers. Lauren stood there with her arms folded over her chest like she had been rehearsing this moment. Her mother, Judy, looked at me with her usual expression, that tight, judgmental purse of the lips like she had to fight the urge to disinfect the air every time I entered a room. Her father, Frank, sat stiffly upright, the way he always did when he didn't know which side to pick, but he was definitely leaning toward his wife's. Lauren's sister, Olivia, looked thrilled in that petty, bored way people do when there's finally some drama to consume. And then there were her friends, Chelsea and Dana, who always treated me like I was inconveniencing the world simply by breathing. I stared at them, then at Lauren, then back at them again, trying to understand what the hell I walked into. "Sit," Lauren said. "Not even please. Just sit," like I was a dog. I didn't sit. I asked what was going on. And that's when she looked at me with this cold, theatrical determination, like she was a lead actress in some messed up emotional stage show. "Stop pretending, Eric," she said loudly, almost too loudly, like she wanted the whole room to hear every syllable. "I want a divorce." And then she waited. She waited for the reaction she had scripted. Me breaking down, me begging, me apologizing for whatever sin she decided I committed. What she got instead was me staring at her with a mix of disbelief and mild amusement. It took me a second to understand how ridiculous the scene was. I wasn't shocked she wanted a divorce. Things between us had been deteriorating for months. What shocked me was the performance, the audience, the smug expectation on her face. It felt less like a marriage ending and more like a public execution she wanted to televise. I laughed, not a hysterical laugh, more like an "are you serious right now?" laugh. Her mother gasped like laughter was the most disrespectful reaction in the universe. Lauren's face dropped fast, like the script fell apart in her hands. "This isn't funny," she snapped. "This is serious. We're done. I'm done pretending this marriage works. You don't give me what I need. You don't show up emotionally, and you're always acting like you're the victim. I can't live like this." Frank nodded like those words were objectively true, though he had no idea what our marriage was actually like. Chelsea and Dana exchanged looks, probably thinking this was a dramatic peak they had been waiting years for. "Okay," I said. One word. Calm. Soft even. And somehow it detonated the room. "Okay." Lauren barked. "That's all you have to say?" "You told me to stop pretending," I said. "So I'm stopping." Silence fell across the room like a blanket. It wasn't anger. It wasn't grief. It was shock. The kind of shock people get when the story they wrote in their head doesn't match reality. Lauren had expected tears or yelling or desperate bargaining. But the truth was, I had been emotionally checked out for months. The marriage had died quietly, suffocating under passive-aggressive comments, cold shoulders, and her increasingly distant behavior. She was no longer my partner. She was a roommate who resented me for reasons she never actually said out loud. I walked past all of them, grabbed my keys, and left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't storm out. I simply left the performance. And as I walked past her friends, both of them stared at her with a look she probably didn't expect. Confusion. Maybe even judgment. Like they realized she had been lying about parts of the marriage or exaggerating things. Because if I was truly the villain she had painted me as, why was I so calm? Why wasn't I defensive? Why wasn't I fighting? The way her friends looked at her said everything. That moment could have been the end of the story, but it was only the beginning, because leaving that house gave me the space to think clearly for the first time in months. And clarity is a dangerous thing when truth has been buried under theatrics. I checked into a hotel. I took a shower so hot it felt like it peeled the day off my skin. And then, like fate had been waiting for the right moment to blow up my world, I opened our shared credit card app. I wasn't looking for anything. I just needed to know I could afford the hotel for a few days. But as I scrolled, something caught my eye. Charges from a hotel I had never visited. A hotel Lauren had no reason to visit. Multiple charges over several weeks. And not just hotel charges, restaurant charges, bars, flower shops, a lingerie store I didn't even know existed. At first, I thought maybe she'd gone on some self-care spree or spent time with her friends, but the dates didn't match her girls' nights. And the amounts, they weren't normal. They were the kind of bills people rack up when they're trying to impress someone or hide something. My stomach twisted. I didn't jump to conclusions. I kept scrolling. More charges, different dates, same pattern. And then I saw a name, a restaurant reservation under the name Lauren and Tyler. My heart froze. Tyler, her co-worker, the one she always claimed was just a friend, the one she insisted was harmless, the one she defended so fiercely anytime I brought up how close they were getting. The puzzle pieces started falling into place, one after the other, clicking together so cleanly that it made me nauseous. She didn't want a divorce ceremony to confront me. She staged it to shame me, to paint me as a reason the marriage ended, to control the narrative before anyone could ask questions. She'd been laying groundwork for months, telling her friends I was distant, telling her family I was difficult, telling everyone I didn't care. But the truth? She had been cheating, and she needed me to take the blame. I wasn't devastated. I was angry, quietly, coldly angry. The kind of anger that doesn't burn but freezes everything it touches. I called a lawyer the next morning. A woman named Rebecca, sharp as glass, calm as ice. She asked for everything, and I gave her everything. The credit card statements, screenshots, dates, the pattern. She told me we would get the phone records, the location records, the hotel confirmation data. And once we did, the picture became painfully clear. She had been cheating for months and using our joint accounts to fund her affair. That changed everything legally. Rebecca told me to collect my things from the house only with witnesses present, to avoid confrontation, and to let her handle all the communication. But life isn't neat. People don't follow scripts. And Lauren was no exception. When I showed up at the house with Rebecca and a police escort, standard procedure, Lauren lost whatever composure she had left. She started crying, grabbing at my arm, begging me not to do this to her. The hypocrisy was unbelievable. Do what? I asked, calm as ever. And the marriage you already ended months ago? Or show your parents the credit card bills you paid for your boyfriend with? She froze, and then she broke. She crumbled onto the floor like her bones had turned to dust. Her parents, who had rushed over after she called them screaming that I was stealing her life, looked at her, then at me, then back at her again. I didn't need to explain anything. I just handed them the stack of papers Rebecca prepared. Receipts, statements, hotel records, screenshots, location data, timestamps. Her father went pale. Her mother whispered, "Oh my God," like a prayer. Olivia covered her mouth. Chelsea and Dana, who had shown up mysteriously fast, probably expecting round 2 of public humiliation, looked like they wanted to evaporate. Lauren tried to talk, tried to spin, tried to cry her way through it. But the more she spoke, the more tangled her lies got, until finally her father snapped and told her to stop talking. She looked at me like I had ruined her life, like I had stolen something from her, like I was the villain in her story. But I hadn't done anything except refuse to participate in her performance. By the time the divorce was finalized, she had lost more than the marriage. She lost credibility, lost friends, lost a narrative she had worked so hard to control. She moved out of state eventually. And me? I rebuilt. Slowly, quietly, privately. Therapy. A new apartment. A new job eventually. Peace. Real peace. But every now and then, I think back to that night she staged a divorce ceremony. The smug look, the audience, the expectation that I would crumble. And I realized something I couldn't see back then. She wasn't trying to end the marriage. She was trying to rewrite the story. She wanted to be the hero. She wanted to be the victim. She wanted everything except the truth. And the truth? It exposed her more brutally than anything I could have ever said. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't theatrical. It was simple. I told the truth and walked away.